As America's most prestigious academic honor society, Phi Beta Kappa has a long and celebrated history, dating all the way back to its founding in 1776. Of course, not all of the individual chapters on various campuses are quite that old. Here at UC Irvine, the Phi Beta Kappa chapter was founded in 1974. And we have the distinct pleasure of actually talking with people who played a large role in the founding of UCI's new chapter. So this list of people definitely includes Professor Emeritus Bill Parker. Bill has served as chair of the Department of Physics and Astronomy, chair of the UCI's Academic Senate, and in many other capacities. And he's been recognized by a whole host of honors, including the UCI Medal, the highest honor awarded by UCI, and something I think is particularly meaningful, the naming of Parker Vista on a hilltop just right off campus, in recognition of all of his contributions to UCI. So welcome, Bill.
Welcome to you.
Thank you. So I know you have had a long association both with UC Irvine and with Phi Beta Kappa, but I thought maybe we could start just by recalling, if you could, when and where you were inducted into Phi Beta Kappa, whether that was the first time you heard of it or, how you felt at that time.
Exactly. I attended a small liberal arts college called Allegheny College up in northwestern Pennsylvania. I was a dual major in physics and mathematics. One of the features of a liberal arts college was the liberal arts courses that I was required to take, which were more extensive than what UCI requires. Mm-hmm. So I took the courses as required. I was elected to Phi Beta Kappa in 1962 as a junior. The initiation or the induction ceremony, I still remember. There were, I believe, 4 or perhaps 5 undergraduates, 4 or 5 faculty, and we met around a conference table in a wood-paneled, book-lined room in the library. I happen to remember it was called the Ida Tarbell Lincoln Collection Room. There was the stereotypical college, university retreat, as I said. Books around the room, wood ingrained, wood table, and it was a formal ceremony, but only a few people. And that's to be contrasted to what's going on at UCI now, where we need one of the largest meeting rooms on the campus for the induction ceremony. Right. So what I remember was the intimate, small collection of students and faculty in 1962.
Yeah.
It was actually the first time I had heard about Phi Beta Kappa. I had never had any ambition to be a member. I got a letter, actually probably a phone call from one of the faculty saying, you have been selected and come to this initiation ceremony. And I did. And obviously I've been a member of Phi Beta Kappa ever since. Back in the early 70s, there was a movement to bring Phi Beta Kappa to UCI, again with the motivation that liberal education, the liberal arts education characterized by Phi Beta Kappa, was an important factor of a public university and important for all undergraduates, engineers, science majors, to get the broad education of a liberal arts school. Mm-hmm. I remember, and I still reflect, that my continuing interest in history, philosophy, music, the visual arts, all started at Allegheny College as an undergraduate when I had to take the required courses in these subjects. So the breadth of the education as an undergraduate is something that has stayed with me for years and years.
Yeah.
So when I advise physics majors today, I urge them to get out of the sciences because the exposure they receive as an undergraduate lays the foundation for interests that will last a lifetime. So a liberal arts education, I think, is fundamental to any well-educated individual. I was very pleased to be a founding member of the UCI chapter.
Yeah, can we talk a little bit about that? So how did that happen? And What was the campus like at that time?
I have to admit to having little or no recollection of
Okay,
what happened. At some point, I was probably asked to sign a petition, and I did.
I see.
I came to UCI in '67 when there were 1,500 students. The place felt deserted. You walk around the Ring Mall, and you were lucky to meet anybody.
Okay.
So you can imagine 1,500 students spread over the size of the campus. As it is today, we have, 35,000 students.
Right.
It feels like a busy place. But when you had 1,500 students, it really felt empty.
Uh-huh.
The other real characteristic was back in '67, late '60s, early '70s, is that the faculty got together. I would interact with faculty in the humanities and the social sciences on a regular basis. Today, interaction across the campus occurs only through formal meetings. If you're a member of some committee, you meet people from the humanities,
Right.
but you don't interact with them on a social, casual basis in a regular way, which is what did take place back in the early days. So I miss the interaction among disciplines that characterized those early years.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, if there's 1,500 students, the number of faculty must be quite small too at that point.
Oh yeah, about 500 faculty.
Uh-huh. Okay. Well, so then Phi Beta Kappa was founded, maybe 7 years after UCI's founding, or 7 or 8. But
The
then,
campus was opened in '65. Fall '65 enrolled the first students, and the chapter at UCI was '74. So technically, 9 years after opening, we had a Phi Beta Kappa chapter.
yeah. Okay. And now, so I think you actually have served in numerous roles in the Phi Beta Kappa chapter here, including as the president. Is that right?
I don't recall actually.
Okay.
What I do recall is participating in the selection of people who were invited to join. I reviewed the applicants or the transcripts of people in physical science and engineering, and it was on my recommendation that hundreds of students were invited to join. And that's what I remember most about engagement with Phi Beta Kappa. I also remember going to, I've gone to many induction ceremonies, but one in particular stands out. A faculty member delivers a lecture, as you know, and there was a lecture by a professor in humanities. I won't mention the name.
Okay.
I understood each word that came out of his mouth. But you put 2 or 3 words together, and I had no idea what he was talking about. I mean, it was. I was listening to this professor of English, and I must have felt like a professor of English would feel listening to you talk about the standard model of physics, using all the jargon that goes with this discipline.
Right.
So
Okay.
I sat there wondering, why is this professor talking the jargon of his discipline? Because nobody in the audience is going to understand a word. And nobody did.
Well, so that experience you had selecting students, I want to just ask a little bit about that. So what do you look for, and what do you think of as sort of the, I don't know, unique characteristics of a Phi Beta Kappa inductee, or the ideal characteristics? What sort does Phi Beta Kappa stand for?
Breadth of education and the quality of the education. A screening criteria is to be in the top, whatever percentage is, was it 5% or 7%?
Yeah, 5.
Evaluated by GPA. But then there has to be breadth of education. So my primary role was to look at physical science and engineers and make sure they had the breadth of liberal education that characterizes the Phi Beta Kappa member. So I was looking for reasonable courses outside the discipline. I was looking for reasonable performance in the courses outside the discipline. So all A's in physics and all C's in non-physics and math courses would not qualify you for Phi Beta Kappa.
Absolutely. Right. Okay, good. And what would you advice would you give to students who have been invited to join, or just as they're embarking on the rest of their career after they've maybe finished quite a successful undergraduate career?
Well, the first advice would be, if you are asked to join, join. In my mind, that's a no-brainer. Phi Beta Kappa is an official recognition of quality education and breadth of education. And while it may not have a direct benefit, I do know that when employers and universities scan a transcript looking for employees or graduate students, membership in Phi Beta Kappa is an important indicator of the breadth of curiosity and the breadth of accomplishments. So, for example, when I review applicants for faculty positions at UCI in the physics department, I find Phi Beta Kappa membership a distinct positive, because I think university faculty should be more broadly interested than just their narrow field. I think a faculty member, or any bright citizen of this country, should have broad-ranging interests, curiosity, and I think Phi Beta Kappa membership is one indicator of that breadth of interest and curiosity.
Great. Well, thank you, Bill. I really appreciate talking with you and hearing about both the history and also your views of Phi Beta Kappa now. It's been a real pleasure, so thank you very much.
Okay, my pleasure.